Toxicology reports show the driver in that deadly Tennessee school bus crash had no alcohol or drugs in his system at the time of the crash. 24-year-old John Anthony Walker is charged with vehicular homicide, reckless driving, and reckless endangerment. The NTSB also revealing that he was not driving on his designated route before the crash, instead taking a winding road where police say he was driving well above the posted 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. Now, the mother of one of the young victims is raising questions about the driver's mental stability. For more on this, let's bring in Wendy Patrick, veteran prosecutor and trial attorney, and Richard Roth, a defense attorney. And Wendy, I want to get right to it and start with you on this. The NTSB said they're going to be doing more further testing, checking for a longer list of drugs for the driver. What does that mean, and could the results possibly change the charges, prison time, or defense even?
Arthel, great questions. You know, our hearts go out to this small community as well as to the families of the victims. We've been in breaking news mode. We've been getting lots of reports from a lot of different places regarding where this driver was, what he said right before the crash, some of which have already been disputed. But now we're in black box mode. We're going to move into the phase where we're actually going to recover the data equipment that can shed light on the very critical moments right before this crash. That'll help us determine a couple of very important things. Speed matters. Why was the driver going so fast? Location matters. Why was he off his route? And you're right, while so far there's nothing to indicate a DUI, right, driving under the influence, we live in a day and age where there are other causes. We talk about the dreaded DWT, driving while texting, driving while tired. In other words, more facts and circumstance will come to light, which will in turn really drive what this person is going to be actually charged with.
Well, Richard, to Wendy's point, they're trying to, apparently this driver had a second job, a seasonal job with Amazon, so they're trying to determine if fatigue played a role in this horrible crash.
That's right, and Wendy's absolutely right. What they're doing now is going in this black box mode. Not only are they going to see look at the actual scientific evidence as to where it was, why it was, and how it was, but they'll also interview the children. Yes, the children were 6, 7, 8, and 9 years old, but they are witnesses, some of whom unfortunately are victims on a terrible pre-Thanksgiving tragedy, but they will actually interview these children and find out exactly what was going on, what they saw, what they heard. So right now we are in, you know, people don't know.
When would they interview the children? Did you just say they would interview the children? When would that happen?
Absolutely, because even though they're children, they are witnesses. They want to know what they were seeing, where they were going. They want to know if he said anything in advance. There's all kinds of information that they don't know, and a good investigator will actually talk to everyone. Whether or not the child has good information or not, they want to talk to the children, and find out.
But I guess where I was going with that one, Richard, is that, you know, because they are children, I mean, is there a particular amount of time that they would have to wait to make sure that the children are able to handle these questions about that tragic day?
Absolutely. It's a balancing. On the one hand, you want to get that information right afterwards because it's immediate. On the other hand, you have to take into account the fact there's 6, 7, and 8-year-old children who have just gone through a very traumatic experience. So it's a balancing. And you also have to, after you interview them, you have to figure out, you know, what did they see and what do they think they saw. They have to sort of analyze it because they're not, you know, their brains are well developed, but they're still 6, 7, and 8 years old. And the fact that he was working at Amazon is another issue. Maybe he was, as Wendy said, tired and either driving while texting or driving while tired. These are all things that are going to start coming out in the investigation.
I want to play right now some sound from a sergeant there at the police department in Chattanooga. Listen, please.
The media is reporting claims that the driver asked the children on the bus if they were prepared to die. I want to be very clear on this. No witness we have spoken with has that information or provided it directly to our investigators. But we have also not interviewed all witnesses yet.
So, Wendy, if, in fact, after the police department there and NTSB and all the investigators collect all of their evidence, and if they find out that, indeed, that they get it directly from the source, which is reportedly the mother of who had 3 children on the bus, one of them who did not survive, unfortunately. But if, in fact, they can prove from the direct source that this driver said something to that effect, are you ready to die, to those children on that bus, is something like that, would it be admissible in court?
Arthel, yes, and that would be a whole different ball game. If that could be corroborated, no doubt, by some of the audio equipment, some of which might have been damaged in the crash, some of which hopefully was not, then we're into an area where motive matters, right? Right now he's charged with crimes that require an intent of recklessness. If we get into an intent of an intentional killing, then those charges could be elevated to murder. There's another court date on the 29th, and these are the kinds of things that investigators are looking at during this busy Thanksgiving holiday weekend for them. Because time is of the essence when you talk about criminal charges. And if they do find that higher mens rea, as we say in the criminal law, then you could very well see much more serious charges down the line.
Rich, I want to close with you on this one. So according to reports, this bus driver, he had been involved in another accident or an incident, sideswiping a Kia and causing roughly $400 in damage. This happened just 2 months ago, and also the bus driver has been arrested and charged with 5 counts of vehicular homicide. As we know, reckless driving, reckless endangerment. Here's the question. At what point could this investigation turn towards Durham School Services, the company the bus driver worked for?
Well, it actually has already turned toward that, because quite frankly, the fact that they are going after him for negligent homicide, negligence is, if you will, a tort, and there's actually been a civil case already commenced, as I understand it. But these are all the factors. For example, why was he on a path which he shouldn't have been on? Where did this mother hear these words from? The mother was not a witness, but either she made it up or someone told her that. So this is already, the Durham school system already, of which it most likely has tremendous insurance, is already in the thick of things. They're in the target here because they have a school bus driver who has a prior incident, although it's not a serious incident, and who, because of his driving, leave aside everything else, the driving alone has resulted in 5, now 6 deaths. So this is a very, very serious matter for not only the driver and the entire school system.
Serious and unspeakably sad.
Terrible, Arthel.
Richard Roth, Wendy Patrick, sorry we had to see on this day, on this so sad, such a sad story, but it's nice to see you nonetheless. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Happy Thanksgiving to you both.
You too.
You too.